Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? My name is Rob Carmona, and welcome back to another episode of Rob the Mic. So, this past weekend, I finally got to jump into prepping my truck. And for those of you guys who are caught up with the episodes, you already know what I'm talking about. For those of you who are not, I'm actually going to be selling my FJ Cruiser. So, there's a couple of things I need to do, things I need to clean up, make sure everything's cool so that once I post it up, everything's good for the next buyer. And one of the things that I wanted to do was actually take the vinyl that's off of my hood, because for FJs, usually it's a big paint point, because when you lift your seat up, when you're out there off-roading or rock crawling, whatever it is that you choose to do, usually they pick up a lot of glare, and it's just a really bad thing to have, especially when you're climbing and you're doing certain things. The last thing you want is for sun to be bouncing off and kind of blinding you, and you don't need all that. So my hood was wrapped matte white. Completely removes all that. You have no glare issues, nothing like that. It actually makes it really nice. So for those of you who are having that sort of issue, I would suggest wrapping your vehicle, whatever it is, or your hood mainly. Use like a matte black, a matte white, something like that, just to kind of diffuse the light. That way you don't have those kinds of issues in the future. But my hood was all cracked. The vinyl had been on there for years. It had just underwent a bunch of sun damage. And I was like, you know what? It's time to go. Like, I can't sell the truck like that. It looks bad. Some people think it looks cool because they're like, oh, dude, it looks kind of like the salt flat texture, you know, or like everything's kind of cracked up. And I was like, yeah, I get that. And it does have a certain vibe to it. But it's like, that's not what this was originally. Originally, it was like just a clean matte white, no cracks anywhere. Like, it was really nice. And at first, I was going to remove it when I first bought the truck. So I was like, nah, man, I want the hood black. I just want everything clean. But once I had gone out in the trail and I had researched why certain people did it, once I had actually saw it like in that environment and I was using it, I was like, okay, I get it. I get why this could be a massive issue if you had just like standard gloss. Like, there was nothing to kind of diffuse the light in that way. So left it, but it was time to go. So I had everything ready. I was doing all my shit. And I was like, dude, this is going to be horrible, because for those of you guys who know, or you've worked with vinyl before, or you have homies who are in that sort of wrapping industry, like with wrapping cars and stuff like that, you know how much of a pain it is to remove sun damage wrap. It ends up coming off in pieces. It's really difficult if you don't have the right tools and you don't really know what you're doing. Thankfully, I do have some experience with that type of stuff. So I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, and it wasn't that bad. I was able to take things off in pieces, and like certain chunks came up clean. What made it really hard was the weather, because the winds have been pretty bad around here, and they've also been really cold. So as I was heating up the material, the moment I would take the heat gun off, it would cool right away. So it's like stuff would just start coming off, like just some little pieces. I'm like, dude, this is going to be horrible. But again, it wasn't too bad. I was able to finish it hour-wise. I'd say less than 8 hours, which is kind of cool. But yeah, everything was on its way. It was all good. And then I got some unfortunate news. So once I finished up everything on Saturday, at least for that day, I had talked to Sebastian. And he was like, yo, dude, I've been working all day today. Like, let's just chill out tonight. Let's go watch a movie. And I was like, okay, cool. So come inside, shower up, get ready, about to leave, come back downstairs. And the family's all just kind of sitting there. Everything's kind of like, the mood's kind of somber. I'm like, all right, well, I already had a feeling. I'm like, somebody died. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I know it. I was like, somebody died. And so my mom's like, hey, dude, you know, your aunt, she passed away. So my tia Rosie passed away. And we kind of knew it was coming. Her health had been declining like rapidly over the last couple months. And my grandpa had just went to go see her a couple weeks ago. And at that point, we already knew she was in a really bad state. So it was just a matter of time. But of course, when it happens, like, you're never really ready to hear that kind of thing. No one wants to hear shit like that. No one wants to hear it. It's never something that you look forward to. And I know it's kind of weird to even have to say, but it's like, you know, what the fuck? So I go downstairs, get hit with that. And I'm just like, damn. So I'm like reminiscing on everything, right? Because I used to spend a lot of time with her when I was younger. Like, I'd always go with my grandpa over to her house and go chill out. She had a pool table. So I would go kick it with my cousin Michael, play pool for hours and just kind of bullshit and have a good time. And it's a trip, right? Like, life's a trip. She had a full life, which is amazing. She lived up to 94. It's like, what more could you want? right? She got to live, she got to travel, she got to do all kinds of stuff that she wanted to do. She was always really happy. She loved to dance, she loved to party, loved to get dressed and get all done up with her hair, her makeup, her clothes. Like she was 100% that Thea that was always like to the nine. Always. It didn't matter if we were just gonna go to somebody's house and have a barbecue, or if it was a big party, it didn't matter. She was always dolled up, always maxed. And it's like, I always had some sort of love and respect for that. And it's funny because I remember having that conversation with a couple homies about how like back in the day, and you see it now too, especially when you see like the older generation still kind of out and about, but they had a love and respect for that, right? Like it didn't matter where you were going. It didn't matter what you were doing. You just get done up. You make sure your clothes are pressed. You make sure everything looks good, like your hair looks good. For girls, it's like that your nails are done, your makeup's on point, your clothes look right, like everything's good. And I miss that because I feel like now that's not really a thing. Like people don't really care anymore. And don't get me wrong, you still have your people that get done up and do certain things, but it's like for me, like, I don't need an excuse to get ready. If I'm going to go hang out with friends or if I'm going to do something, like, I want to look my best. And it's for me. And for her, that's something that she did. It wasn't to impress people. It wasn't to kind of show out and be like, oh, I have this and I wear this and blah, blah, blah. Like, it was for her. Rosie was that kind of person. She was always on 100. I never saw her out of that. Like ever in my life. I can't ever remember a time, even going over just to hang out at her house, that she wasn't dolled up all the time, every day. And I love that. And that's something that I'm always going to hold with me. I'm always going to remember. I'm always going to think about. And it's, again, that's something that I take for myself. And it's like, I take my notes from that. There's certain people that I look up to and that I looked at and I'm like, okay, this is why you do it. This is why you do it. And I still have a ton of aunts that do that. I have a lot of family that still does that. Like my older family, that are in their 80s and their 90s and they still get done up for everything. And I'm like, okay, cool. I fuck with that. But it was really sad. It was really, really sad. And like my grandpa's in like a weird state about it. And I don't blame him for being in a weird state, right? Like I heard this thing a while back. And it's regarding like brothers and sisters and just, it's more in that light. But it's that if you have like multiple brothers and sisters, that there's always going to be one brother and or sister that has to bury the rest. And he's been in that state where all of his brothers and sisters have essentially passed. Like there's only 2 of them left. So he's in like obviously a weird state, just kind of processing everything, and he's sad about it, right? Like he doesn't know really what to do or how to feel. So they're gonna do a memorial service for her in a couple weeks because right now she passed in Arizona, and they want to do all the services here in California. So they're trying to do that whole transportation. Excuse me, I can't speak right now. They're trying to do all the transportation and make sure everything's cool to get her body here and make sure everyone has everything that they need, invite, set up the event, do all that. Which, of course, for those of you guys who have gone through any sort of funeral planning or anything, you understand how hectic it is and that it does take some time. And unfortunately, depending on the circumstances or the situation, you might not have that time. And thankfully, in this situation, the family does have the time. So everyone's getting everything situated, and it's just kind of like, all right, well, we're just waiting for that day and not looking forward to it. And it was wild because it was not like a precursor for the week, but it kind of did set the vibe for the week because there's been a few things that have gone down, which we'll get into. But even that night, like Saturday night, so when Sebastian and we took off, went to the movies, went to go get a bite to eat first, got a couple drinks, and we wanted to go watch The Woman in the Yard. And we didn't know what it was going to be about. I didn't look into it. And not that I look into the movies before I go see them, but I am curious. And for the most part, I'm like, I'll look and see. But this one I didn't want to because I was like, okay, it strikes me as a horror film. Cool. Let's check it out. I've been wanting to watch some spooky shit. So let's go see what's up. So spoiler alert, you can fast forward through this if you want to go see the movie. If you haven't, or if you're not going to, no big deal. But I am going to be doing some spoilers in this. Essentially, the movie ends up being about suicide and like suicide awareness. And the whole idea through this film is that the woman in the yard is about the main character, and it's essentially herself. So what she ends up going through is she loses her husband. She has 2 kids. She's trying to take care of this property that they had purchased together. And she's overwhelmed. She ends up getting injured when her husband passes, they're in a car accident. She ends up getting just really messed up. Her legs messed up. She's on crutches, and it's tough for her to manage and deal with the loss of her husband and her having to deal with this injury and her not being able to help and be around for the kids and do certain things. So when the film takes place is like on the day that all the shit's going to go down, right? So like that's essentially how the woman in the yard comes about. But where it comes from is that this woman is asking for the strength so that she can kill herself. Because I guess she just, not that she had tried to do it before, but she's fed up and she doesn't know how she's going to deal with life. She doesn't know what she's going to do. So there's a point at the beginning of the movie where she rolls out of bed. Her son comes into the room, opens up the blinds, and he's like, dude, get up. This has to happen. We got to do this. We got to do this. Power's not working, whatever. And she's in this like clouded state. She can't really hear too well. She's not really there. She's thinking about her husband. She had been watching back some videos and stuff like that. And then when she finally rolls out of bed, she grabs her crutches and she's like, give me the strength. Give me the strength. And for me, not that I'm the most religious person, but I'm thinking automatically like she's asking for the strength, like just like to get up, to live, to do things, right? Like just give me the strength to get through today type of thing. And then, let's keep going day at a time. And it's actually not that, which again, you end up finding out later on in the film that the strength that she was asking for is again for the strength like within herself to be able to commit suicide. And this quote unquote woman in the yard, even though it ends up being like in the film, they show who the woman is and it's not her, but at some point it ends up being her. Like that is like a character that she created for herself, that like, that's what this woman looks like. That's who she is. And essentially she is like her own Grim Reaper. She ends up facing it where she's about to do it. She ends up going through all this shit, sends the kids off to run to the neighbors to go get help and whatever she needs to do. But she was going to stay home and do what she needed to do. She ends up facing it. And then she has a moment where her daughter leaves her like a stuffed animal because she's just like, I don't want you to be alone, Mom. And that's what ends up saving her. So it's just like her kids end up saving her. And I know it seems like a very simple thing to say and explain. And if you watch the movie, if you choose to watch it, you'll understand a little bit more. Me personally, I would say to wait till it comes out like on streaming services, like whether it's like Netflix or Paramount or Peacock or whatever the fuck it is that's out there. But from a cinematic standpoint, I do think it's done really, really well. I think cinematically, sound design is incredible. The film itself, I think it has a lot of holes in it, and I'm still kind of curious about them. And I've been going down like Reddit rabbit holes trying to like see how people are interpreting certain things and like, why did this happen? Or what about this? Because there's a lot of questions that I have. And again, if you see it at some point, depending on how much you look into movies or because everybody watches movies different, right? Like I know for myself, I am very different the way that I take in film versus like everyone else around me. So, but I question a lot. I look at things. I pay attention to the small details. I look at this. I look at that. I'm like, well, what about this? What about that? So I've been going nuts the last couple of days, but it was crazy. It was a really crazy thing, again, to kind of go into the week and just kind of, going into that film, having experienced loss and then seeing the film, right? And then knowing that this week coming up that I was going to have 2 memorials to attend, which is already too many in my opinion. But I was just I was in a weird state, right? Like I've been very pensive the last couple of days, and I try to get through it in my workouts. Like my workouts have been helping me a lot because I get to kind of take out whatever frustrations or take out whatever it is that I'm feeling in the workout. Like I'll push myself a little bit harder, or I'll do certain things, or I don't know. I'm trying to exert that energy. And even working on the truck has been really helpful. Like on Sunday, I was just sitting there thinking, finishing. Like I had music on, but it was almost like it was just there, but I couldn't really hear it. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like I know everybody kind of gets in their zones, they get in their things, or you just need to work through shit. You need to have like background noise. That's kind of what it was for me, because as I'm sitting there with the heat gun and I'm just kind of like taking off the rest of the vinyl for the truck, I'm just like processing what's going on, how I'm dealing with it all. And it was crazy because on Tuesday, so yesterday, there was 240 Tuesday, right? It was the first of the month. And for those of you guys who know, you already know what I'm pointing at, but the first Tuesday of every month, there's a meet that goes down at the Hat in Brea, which is called 240 Tuesday. And it's hosted by a buddy of mine, Sid. And I haven't been in a couple months. Just between work, life, things have been really tough to kind of step away and be able to attend it. But yesterday was a really special one. And it was wild to see everybody that showed out. And it was awesome seeing people that I haven't seen in a while. And unfortunately, it was for unfortunate circumstances. So there's this guy named Eric who passed away. And he was a frequent goer of 240 Tuesday. He was really cool with Sid. He was cool with a lot of the homies that were there. And it was just one of those things we had to go and pay our respects. You know, we had somebody that was in our community who's passed. And the least that we can do is show up to show our love, to show our appreciation, to show our affection. And his family was going to be there too. Like his friends, there was a lot of people that were going to be present. And it was something that like we didn't really know what was all going to happen. Sid was just like, hey dude, this is happening. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be there for sure. And I posted it, reached out to certain homies. And I was like, hey dude, this, I think it's kind of important that we go. So, you know, we should be there, bro. And it was tight. It was really fucking tight. And again, it was amazing seeing how many people showed up and showed out for this. It's probably the most packed I've seen it really ever. Like, don't get me wrong, there's certain events for 240 Tuesday that will go off that are like staples, right? Like you have your first one of the year, the last one of the year. Those ones always kind of go off. But this one had a different vibe to it because it was kind of like all of that first meet of the year, last meet of the year, that like first summer night one type of thing. It was like all of it put together because we were all there for a reason. We were there to celebrate somebody's life. And you felt that. You really, really felt that. Like, I don't think I've ever attended something like that within the automotive community, especially on the stance side. I've experienced things like that when it comes to like lowrider, classic culture type things. Like Waxers was very much like that. And that was incredible. That was a whole experience in itself, which I'm, again, very, very, very thankful to have been a part of. But seeing something like this on this side, I was like, okay, cool. That's what's up. And it was cool that people that were around when Stance was kind of making its feats around here, like in the early 2000s, when like shit was just really starting to kind of take off, especially with like, you know, Hella Flush Culture and like Illest and all that. It was cool to see a lot of those people come out from under a rock and just be like, hey, dude, like we're here. We see it. You know, we're here to show love. And that's why I even told certain homies, because they're like, you know, hey, dude, we saw that you're wearing your WFC jacket. And I'm like, dog, it's only right. Like on behalf of myself, on behalf of the club, like it's the least that I can do is stand here, show my love, show my respect. And same thing with like his club members too, of clubs he was a part of. So it's like, that's just what we do. Like you go, you show your love, you show your support. And it was tight. So like seeing people like Sid, Johnne Sou, aka E60 Daddy, for those of you guys who, you know, don't know him like by his first name, you know, Mr. Pure VIP himself. It was sick. It was dope to catch up with him, talk about family, talk about what's going on. It's this trip because I haven't seen him in years. And we used to always be around each other like almost every weekend type of thing. We'd always, It was every month we saw each other multiple times a month, and things just kind of change, right? The scene kind of shifts. Everybody's priorities kind of shift, and that's kind of where we're at. Everybody moves about a little bit, but we don't let it go. This type of shit never goes away. You never let it go, right? Like, you stay active, you keep your eye and your ear on the pulse of like what's going on, right? And there's a reason why you do that. Taylor came out from Karuma. Always incredible seeing him. And I know I've talked to you guys a lot about him before too, especially in the recent episodes, but he is just somebody that represents the scene in the craziest way. There's so many people that look up to him and that respect the brand that he's created. So for people like him to show up last night is a big deal. It's a big fucking deal, because a lot of the younger generation, a lot of these younger kids, they don't understand why you do stuff like that. And people like him set an example where it's like, hey, you pay your respects. If you're in this scene, if you do this, this is what you do, and this is why you do it. So it was amazing to see him. Ivan from VJC Tires came out. Always love seeing him just from a personal standpoint, because I love that man so much. He has so much love to give. He's a family man. He's so much about the culture. He's so much about the scene, about his people, about helping people just because it's something that he loves to do. It's what his family instilled in him, and he carries those values. And I love keeping people like that around me because it's important. It's rare. You don't find a lot of people like that understand those values and that keep those things alive. And he passes those things around, right? Where like everybody who's around him kind of keeps that same vibe. So again, people like him, it's amazing to see them. Zoe, I haven't seen Zoe in a couple months. And for those of you guys who don't know who he is, he's been on the podcast before. So he's no stranger to Rob the Mic. And he's been through a lot. He's been going through a lot. And to see his face and just him in person and to give him a hug, I was like, this is it. Like, this is beautiful, right? And again, under unfortunate circumstances that we all got together like that. But there's also something really beautiful about that we are all in each other's company and that we're here to celebrate life, right? Someone who's passed, that we cared for, that we respected, but also for each other, that we love and that we care for each other. And it's like, hey, let's embrace this time that we have right now, that we're here together. Let's break bread. Let's eat. Let's talk. Let's laugh. Let's do all that. Let's talk about, stories. Let's talk about the fallen. Let's talk about what's going on. What are we going to do? What's the plans? That's what this is all about, right? And even Albert and Yesi came out last night, which was sick too, because it was something that Albert and I were talking about. And he's like, you know what, dude, I got to go. I said, you have to, man. It's part of the game. I said, you should feel a level, like a weight, some obligation. Because this is our scene, dude. We're the ones that hold it down. We're the ones that were around when this shit started over here. And I'm not saying, oh my God, we created low carbs. That's not what I'm fucking saying. Stance was very different. For example, like in the 80s, in the 90s. And in reality, when it came to like that early 2000s, like 2005 type shit, stance was already starting to shift. It was already shifting like that. And we were around for that. We were around for the creation of all of that. For the molding and seeing how people and how style was developed and, seeing movements like Hella Flush come about. And you're like, when you get to see and be a part of that and you've been doing it since then, you have a level of responsibility now, again, to the younger generation to show them, hey, this is what you do and this is why you do it. So for us, it means a lot. That's why I told Albert, I'm like, bro, we have to be there. We have a responsibility, not just to Eric to show our respect to him, but also to the people around. So that when people walk around, they say, oh, okay, hey, you know what? Yeah, man, look, like, hey, these fools are here. Again, Johnny's there, Taylor's there, Ivan, Sid, of course, myself, Albert, Zoe. Like, not trying to say like we're these staples in the community, but it's important that we are there because we are always around. People associate us with these things. And that's what I mean. When you have a certain association with certain things, certain scenes, vibes, whatever, you have a responsibility to keep that shit alive. and to keep certain things going. So for us to show face last night, I'm like, it's a part of it. Yeah, okay, we might be here every month. Like, I haven't been in the last couple months, but it's like, even if you are, like, people see that. And again, you have to set the standard. You have to show people what and why you do certain things. And the younger gen doesn't know. They don't get it. But last night was a chance for them to look into shit and say, oh, okay, so this is why you do it. This is why. We're not just here to look at Eric's S15 that he built, that now it's like, you know, it's blowing up people, because it was a more recent build. He was known for his red 14 Koki, which was wild to see. And he, like, to watch it move and like see it parked up, you were like, oh shit, like it was pretty sick. And also it's a red Koki. Like, what the fuck isn't there to love about a red Koki? You know what I mean? I myself, I had a Koki at one point, and it was my all-time favorite car. It was my first car that I ever owned. So I have a soft spot for them. So to see them done up, I'm always like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean? It makes my heart happy. So he was known for that. Sold it. Built this full 326 S15. And that was something I was curious about. Is I was like, man, I wonder if his car is going to be there, if they're going to bring it out. Because that would be pretty sick, right? Like, it's a cool memorial moment to like have his car there. And I didn't really know. I didn't ask too many questions. Again, I just knew to be there at a certain time. But it was sick. So to honor his life with his car, with his family, and just kind of see how his mom and dad got to witness all of us there. And it's just like, hey, like, your son was loved and cared for. And he meant something to the scene. He meant something to this community right here. And you're very much a part of that. Even though, you know, you're his mom, you're his dad, like, you're welcome here. This is family. This is all love. This is all good vibes. That's what we are here for. That was fucking sick. And it's something that I will never forget in my life, ever. And I'm sure everybody else that was present too, they probably felt something. Like, when we all got together for the moment of silence, it's like, you feel something. You feel something. It's just like, you know, like, I know whether he's looking down, whether he's with us, he was with us last night. You could just feel with the people next to you. You could feel everybody's energy. It's just like, it's something good about it. And even though it was insanely sad, like, watching his mom, like, to me, there's nothing like a mother's pain. Don't get me wrong. I guess it's one thing to see like a father's pain type of shit, but I don't know what that's personally like, since I didn't grow up with that. I never had that in my life. So it doesn't really resonate with me. But moms, they hold something. They have a certain place in this world. And watching a mom have to bury her son is one of the most painful things that I think anyone will witness. And I've seen it in the last couple years, and it's fucking horrible. I watched my grandma do it with my uncle Alfredo. I watched Waxer's mom do it. And it's like, that type of shit is just, it wrecks you, dude. It leaves these like images burned into your head. Like, even right now, like, I can see Eric's mom like walking up to the car last night during the moment of silence, and just her husband holding her and breaking down. Because that's something that it's not supposed to happen, right? Like, your parents aren't supposed to bury you. It's supposed to be the other way around. So you go through this life together, but unfortunately, sometimes these things happen. Life has a different plan for everybody. So it was very special for all of us to be a part of it, and to show the family, like, hey, we love you, we support you, and as a community, we are here for you. So it was a trip. It was a trip, and I know it meant something different for everybody, but ultimately, I know that everyone felt very honored to be there, and that it wasn't just a standard 240 Tuesday. This is a 240 that nobody will ever forget. Everybody will always remember these things. And it's cool. And again, it's important for the scene to do shit like that. You know, there's a reason for that. And, you know, unfortunately, I have another memorial on Saturday, like this upcoming Saturday. I'll be out in Canoga Park for OG Puke, who was a member of Cabrones, and he was an incredible painter. Incredible painter, pinstriper, just artist, creative. The way that man's mind worked and put shit together was unbelievable. I have a ton of his work, both photo and video. So if you guys are curious about it, go look at anything that has the Cabrones in it. So my Pink Motel video, my Venice video, go watch those. Those two alone will tell you and show you everything you need to know about what that man created. So we lost him recently. And again, on Saturday is his memorial event. Not looking forward to it. It's not a good thing, right? It's not something that you want to get together for. It's not, you want to get together for like just to kick it. We're throwing a meet, throwing a good time, throwing a show, whatever. This is not that. I mean, granted, we're going to be celebrating his life, but it's sad. It's fucking sad. It's going to be sad to see the club. It's going to be sad to see all of his work and the people that he's influenced. And again, for me, he had some of my absolute all-time favorite cars here in SoCal. His attention to detail, his hand, it was fucking unmatched, dude. Unmatched. And again, it was my favorite, some of my absolute favorite shit to film, whether it was stills, video, whatever. So I feel honored that I was able to capture and show these types of things. And at least I have those pieces and they're going to be kept in time forever. You know, the videos, the photos are never going away. So if anyone needs to see them or wants to see them, or even, like I'm telling you guys, if you're curious about it, go check those videos out. Go look at photos. Anything that has Cabrones tagged in it, he painted it. He had something to do with it. And there's a lot of other cars that I've shot too that took influence from him and that showed him, like, that he would show them techniques so that they could paint their cars a certain way and do certain striping and do certain things. So he has influence all over that scene. And it's always going to live on, which is cool because people will get to see that, right? And I've talked about this with Albert, and I think that's something that people forget, that all of these guys and these girls who are out here doing and creating and painting, those are arts that need to be continued. They need to be studied. Somebody has to keep them alive. So it's like somebody has to end up taking the reign and taking responsibility and saying, okay, cool, we have to keep this shit moving, right? We got to keep this shit going for generations to come so that people understand, okay, these paint techniques, or this is why you do this is why you do that. And it's the same thing in tuning. It's the same thing in tuning. It doesn't matter what kind of car scene you're into. There's always those things and those people. There's a reason why you got to keep art alive and the art of whatever it is that you do. Because you got to be able to show the next gen. You got to show them how to do things right. And this is why you do it this way. You got to hold it down, right? Like, ultimately, I think that's what it is like you hold it down for the shit that you love, for the shit that you want to do. And I don't know, man. It's left me in like a weird state. Like I feel like I'm kind of in limbo. Like, I know what this feels like. Like I've dealt with something like this before. So I'm, you know, I've had these periods of time where I've experienced a lot of death. And right now I just feel like it's not like it's happening all over again, but to a certain extent, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is what you do. This is how you deal with it. But it also made me realize something. And it's like, I'm very thankful. I'm very lucky to be in the position that I'm in. That I woke up today, even to record this, to film this, that I got to spend time with people that I loved last night, people that I care for, make memories, laugh, do all those things. And it made me realize that it goes along with something I read a long time ago. And I was like, oh, you know what? And I saved it and I never knew why. It was just something I needed to save. And it's this, and maybe it'll make a little bit more sense when I read it. It says, "You are the constant of every good thing that has ever happened in your life. And I think we all have to kind of understand that even though there's negative, there's sad, there's bad things that are going on around you, that you are this constant, and that you can make things however it is that you need to make them. And that when good things happen around you, for example, even like last night, like even though it was really sad, it was also something really beautiful, and there was also something really good about it. And I was able to put myself in that state where I felt very thankful. And I'm like, I am here. I am present for this. I am a part of this good thing. Again, even though it's sad, this is a good thing. And I'm surrounded by this love. I'm surrounded by all these people. And that we're here for this. So I have to realize that sometimes. I think we all have to realize that. We have to be able to pull from something, right? No matter how bad it is, you have to be able to pull some good from it. And that you ultimately are the constant. That when things happen, you have to be that constant light. You have to be that constant good and stand and represent that. And it might be hard. I'm not saying it's a fucking easiest thing to do. And honestly, it's pretty shit to have to do. But when you have that realization, you're like, oh, okay. All right. And maybe it's not all as bad as I thought it was. You got to shift that perspective, you know? And then on Saturday, I have that memorial for OG. And then on Sunday, I'm going to have a completely opposite experience. I'm going to be with Albert, prepping for a track day on the 25th, doing some stuff to the Honda, making sure everything's cool, doing some service, checking some shit out, making sure he's good. Can't have my boy falling into a million pieces and flying off the track and shit. But it's like, there's something so sick about that it's like, again, I feel so involved right now in my life. Like I'm so active, and it's good. I'm getting to be here for all these people. I'm getting to put time in with all these people that I love, that I care for. And it's like, okay, cool. This is good for me right now. Like I need this. I got to be present in it. I got to make time. And like when Albert had originally hit me up on Sunday, or to kick it on Sunday so that we can do track prep, I had some stuff going on. I had another event I needed to shoot. And I had some work I had to do. But I'm like, you know what, dude? I don't really want to be at an event. I don't really want to be doing shit. Like I want to be with people that I love and care for, especially after Saturday. Because again, even though it is going to be something dope, I'm really excited to be able to document that. But I'm going to be in my feels about it. And I don't really want to be alone. It's hard to say. Like, I think I have these moments where, depending on what's going on, I want to be alone. Right. But when there's like really bad shit that happens, like when I'm just fucking sad, like for example, when my Uncle Alfredo passed away, I didn't want to be alone. Like I didn't want to talk to anyone, like just like general fucking people, but I wanted my family with me. I wanted the people that I love with my entire being. I wanted them around me. Like, don't give me space. Don't give me space. Be at my fucking house all the time. Be with me. Call me. Text me. Like, that's the type of shit I need. And everybody has different ways of dealing with shit. But like on Sunday, I took that and I was like, you know what? I have an opportunity to go kick it with my brother. Go laugh, go bullshit, go wrench, get my mind off things. I'm probably going to fuck with the truck a little bit too. We're going to be tuning on the Honda. Any moment I get to tune, I'm fucking down. Sign me up. Let's run it. And also, my boy's getting ready to go to the track. So I'm really excited for that too, because it's been a long time since we've been to the track in general. So the fact that he's going to be throwing down, I'm super excited about that. And of course I'm going to fucking support him. Like, I want to see him do well. I want him to fucking be smiling. I want him to feel like he's 17 again. Like, that's that shit. That's why we do it. That's why we tune, right? It's our inner kid. It's that first moment that you saw Initial D type shit. You try to please that version of yourself. And that's what I constantly try to do. Like, whenever I tune, whenever I fuck around, I'm like, I want to please that inner child. Like, what would my young Rob say? Like, what would he be? How would he be reacting, And that's what I want. So I'm going to go spend that fucking day with him. And I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to that. I need that. My soul needs it. So it's going to be a good weekend. It's going to be tough emotionally, just kind of dealing with everything. But I also think it's going to be really beautiful. Like it leads me into the advice for the week. So this is something that I came across too. And it's like, maybe it makes sense for this, maybe it doesn't, but I also feel like it does. And for me, Sunday, making the decision for Sunday kind of reinforces this. 10 out of 10 recommend putting yourself first for once and being a passionate little freak about your own happiness. I have to put my happiness first. And if being with people that I love is a part of that, then I'm absolutely going to do that. If I want to nerd out and work on my truck, I don't have to feel bad about it. I can make any and all time. I can cancel shit, cancel work, cancel events, whatever the fuck is going on, because I want to do that. I'm going to go do that. I want to work on the queue. I want to fuck around and do whatever. I'm going to do that. Again, I'm going to go tune on Sunday with my brother. I'm going to go work on the S2000, wrenching, doing shit, straight Fast and the Furious type shit. I love that. And I can nerd out about it. That's what I love. That's for me. It's a very selfish thing. That is for me. It's self-care. It is self-care. And that's why I tell Albert, this type of shit is self-care. You gotta fucking do it, man. This is what we do. For some people, it might be a hobby. They might like fucking around with their trucks and their cars and whatever. This isn't a hobby for us. This is our life. This is our lifeline. This is what we do. This is what we do. There's people, again, who do this shit for fun. We don't do this for fun. We do this every day. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep. It's cars, it's trucks, it's the automotive industry in general. So yeah, I'm going to be a fucking passionate little freak about it. Because this is me. This is who I am. This is my fucking life. More often than not, as of recent, I wake up and I'm like, damn, dude. This is the only life I have. This is all I got. I was given the chance to live and experience this fucking life. And even though I didn't ask for it, I'm here. What am I going to do? I'm going to waste it doing shit that I don't really like. I'm going to waste it fucking around and fucking off my time. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I like to just do a whole lot of nothing. And I think we need to. But I'm going to do shit that I love and have a passion for. And that's cars for me. That's automotive in general for me. It's trucks. It's all of it. It's all of it. If I can spin a wrench, if I can fuck around, if I can cruise, if I can crawl, it doesn't matter. That's what I do. That's what I do. And that passion is not going anywhere. It's a part of my happiness. It's what makes me who I am. And I know a lot of you guys watching and listening, you feel the same way. That's probably what brought you to this podcast in the first place. That's how a lot of y'all know me. It's through the automotive industry. It's through some sort of scene that we fuck around with, whether it's JDM shit, Euro, classics, lowriders. That's how you know me. That's how we met. It's that fucking little thing that brought us all together. So you already know what I'm talking about, because most of y'all feel the same way. You've been like this since you were a kid. And you're not letting it go anytime soon, right? It's you. Why would you let go of a part of yourself? That's crazy. If somebody told you had to let it go, you'd be like, what the fuck? What am I going to do now? Play golf? And don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with people who play golf and shit. But it's like, you don't play golf. You tune. You fuck around. You mod. You cruise. This is your life. This is your path. I just so happen to fuck around with it too. So I'm here for it. And I hope you guys stick around too. But I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I wasn't planning on this episode being so long. So I'm glad that you guys stuck around. If you stuck around for the whole thing, I appreciate you. Whether you're watching it, listening to it, however it is that you take in the cast, I appreciate the fuck out of you guys. I love y'all. I'm sending you all my light. Everything that I have that is good in this world, I am sending it to you guys. Tell the people around you that you love them. Give them extra tight hugs. And don't ever be afraid of it. Tell people so much. Make that shit weird. Be like, hey, I love you. I love you. I appreciate you. I love you. Tell them. Because there's going to come a time that you won't be able to do it. And I promise you, I fucking promise you, you're going to sit there and wish that you had. So take advantage of the time that you have. But I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I will catch you on the next one.